Michael Graham, 96.9 Boston Talks.
We had a quote from the New York Times where one of the activists says, it doesn't matter what you're protesting, just protest. So that's why I was delighted when Lloyd Hart, a writer and thinker with the Occupation movement, took the time to post a list of demands. And Mr. Hart joins us here on 96.9 Boston Talks. Hello, Lloyd. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Yourself?
Terrific. I want to just read a couple of these, and I want to ask about some specific ones.
I have to just say something. I want some of those right windows.
Yeah, they're terrific. Absolutely, rightwindow.com.
I've only got double pane on my house.
Well, go up for the triple pane. But anyway, in theory, you get what you're paying for, but maybe not. You start off on your list by saying we need the restoration of a living wage, and you conclude that means raising the minimum wage to $20 an hour.
Okay, that's not exactly correct.
Well, I'm just reading it here. Restoration of the living wage. Another policy is the minimum wage to $20 an hour.
Yeah, the restoration of the living wage paragraph is actually about stopping China from dumping cheap slave wage products onto the American market by bringing back the tariffs of
the Smoot-Hawley Act, which works so well.
No.
Hello?
That's not true. The tariffs on product dumping. We want trade to occur, but we don't want product dumping. We have to pay 25% tariff on everything we put into the Chinese market, and they get to pay a 2.5% tariff. Now, that's not right. So,
what it means is that we get lots of cheap stuff, and their consumers have to pay a lot more for stuff, and so we end up having a lot more wealth to spread. But regardless, when you've got $20 an hour as a minimum wage, you'll be able to buy all kinds of stuff, won't you, Lloyd?
Well, look, the $20 an hour is just a primer for discussion.
Okay, well, then let's move on then to guaranteed living wage income regardless of employment, which is your third demand. Is that right?
We have that anyway. It's just not living wage. It's unemployment insurance.
Right. So we would have a guaranteed living wage regardless of employment.
You bring that money up when people crash the market like they've done right now because clearly, unemployment insurance is not matching the demand.
Right. So, and then demand number 4 is free college education.
Well, it's not exactly free. It's free.
Well, I'm just reading demand 4, quote, free college education, close quote.
It's free to the college student, but alumni funds and taxes pay for the education.
Well, of course. I mean, nothing's free. You're right. Someone else is going to have to pay for the education. I understand. So you're going to take more money from people who don't go to college and give it to people who are going to college. But let me ask you this. If you're going to let me go to college for free and then you're going to pay me no matter whether or not I work, why would anyone ever work?
Well, look, that's not how human beings behave.
It's not?
In guaranteed income communities in Europe, they discovered that most of the people that get on guaranteed income go back to school to improve their ability to be productive in the economy, or they start a small business. And that's generally because people just can't sit still. They have to do something.
Yeah, I've
they
noticed
have to do something that creates feedback that makes them feel good.
I've noticed that there's a lot of people just have to go work. That's why they're bursting at the seams to get off of welfare and go to work. We're talking to Lloyd J. Hart with OccupyWallStreet.org. So you honestly think that if you give people free money to stay home, that they're going to go out and work anyway?
Well, yeah, they do. They go to school. They go to, like, the numbers from Europe you can't argue with. They go to school or they start small businesses. And then they create employment.
Now, where are you going to get the money to pay the people who aren't working? This minimum living wage.
The unemployment insurance brought up to a wage standard?
So where are you going to get that money?
That comes through the tax system.
Right. So if I go to work, you're going to charge me confiscatory tax rates so you can pay my neighbor who's getting a guaranteed living wage, not just a living wage, out of my taxes.
I'm not going to increase your taxes.
You're not?
What I'm going to do is I'm going to remove 80% of the defense and intelligence budgets down to where it ought to be for the threat level today in the world.
Okay, that's great. So that'll cover a fifth of
that
its
will cover
ballpark figure.
Everything this country needs.
How much do you think we spend on defense, Lloyd?
The defense budget was just over $700 billion for fiscal year 2011.
No, you're completely wrong. But anyway, so
I'm not.
Yes, you are. But the premise that you're going to pay people not to work and you're going to use the money of people who are working to pay them not to work, you don't really see a problem with that.
What you're trying to do is you're trying to paint a picture that doesn't really exist.
Okay.
Because people that get on welfare or get unemployment insurance don't stay on it for very long.
Let me ask you this one. We're talking to Lloyd Hart with the OccupiedWallStreet.org. You can read his list of demands on the Michael Graham blog. Demand 11, immediate across-the-board debt forgiveness for all. And that includes credit card debt, student loan debt, home mortgages. Why would anyone ever pay any money back if you had across-the-board debt forgiveness?
Because that's not how people behave.
It's not?
No, it's not. People want to honor their debts, but we have piled up so much debt in the economy, there's no possible way to unravel it without causing radical poverty.
So you think that, like, a guy's walking around with a credit card right now and he knows that Lloyd's going to wipe all the debts off, he's still going to pay that debt back anyway just because...
There are always criminals in the system, aren't there? But you know what? There's only 1.2 million people in prison in this country, and half of those are nonviolent drug arrests to begin with, and then the rest are the people who cause mischief. And most people are honest, and they don't cause mischief, and they want to honor their debts. But once again, we've got so much debt piled up in the system, from sovereign down to consumer debt, that it's to unravel it, to try and unravel it, would cause so much poverty. There would be riots in the streets, and we're almost there now, my friend, because we've got 43 million people in America living below the poverty line, and riots are right around the corner.
Before I go to the next point, I want to get back to this college loan debt. So you took someone else's money to go to college for 4 or 5 years, party, have good time, smoke pot, etc. At the end of it, you don't think there's any duty to pay that money back?
Look, one of the problems with the American system of education is that you don't make